Welcome to Inside New Albany Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. I'm Jody Walls.
I'm Brady Brock.
We're with Gumtree Mortgage here in New Albany over on Starling Avenue. We specialize in home financing needs, whether it's a purchase, a refinance, or a new construction.
And we're super passionate about trying to help you find the home of your dreams, help you get it financed, just like this one right here.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Come out, hit them in the mouth from the first play, we're going to be fine.
Well, hello. Welcome to Week 10 of Inside New Albany High School Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. We're your hosts, Mr. Paul Henry and Robert Garrett. We want to thank you for joining us all season on these shows. We're in our last week of the regular season. The show is brought to you. The site sponsor is State Farm Insurance with Wally Morgan. And also we've got...
It's Gumtree Mortgage right down the road. It's Brady Brock and Jody Walls. Those guys, along with Wally Morgan, do a tremendous job supporting us year in and year out. So we greatly appreciate what they do for us.
So if you need a home mortgage financed or you need some insurance, these two folks will take care of you.
Well, Coach, we rolled down Highway 15 last week to South Pontotoc and came home with a W, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our third win in the division. We're 3-1 going to this last week. South Pontotoc, team that's been better the last couple of years, beat us last year in a game where we turned the ball over too much. So went into it knowing that we needed to play well and just kind of finish the division moving forward to that last game of the year.
Well, most importantly, I think that pretty much locked us into guaranteeing us at least making the playoffs.
Yeah,
now, there's a bunch of different scenarios that, as far as for how it's going to play out.
I'm going to tell you, you got to be a mathematician or calculus teacher to figure out all the scenarios.
Right.
There's a lot of different scenarios, but like you said, a win at South Pontotoc did clinch a playoff spot for us. Last year, we did not make the playoffs, and so it was nice to know when we're getting back into it for sure.
So what we're setting 7-2, right?
7-2, yep.
And so what is it? And I want to talk a little bit about the South Pontotoc game, but before we do that, talk to us about the scenarios. Because, I was looking online and there was some scenario where we could be first and we could be fourth, all based on what happens in points matter, all this kind of stuff matter.
Brandon Shields did a really good job. Most of what you've seen out there is put out by him. Us being 7-2, we were 4-1 in the non-division, 3-1 in our division play, have beaten Pontotoc, North Pontotoc, South Pontotoc, lost to Ripley in a three-way by 3. So a lot of scenarios, like you said. If we beat Houston, we're in a potentially a three-way tie. That could be Ripley, us, and Houston all in it. So points comes into the equation after that. There's another scenario where Pontotoc can beat Ripley, and then that throws them back into it. So ultimately, what we control, and that's what you always want to do. You always want to go into it and control your own destiny. So if we beat Houston by 6, we win the division. So anytime you have an opportunity to win the division at the last game of the year, that's always exciting. If we win by less than 6, we'd be second. If we lose by a certain number of points, we could still beat Ripley, but it's close. Then if Pontotoc beats Ripley, that throws them some different things in the equation. So a lot of different.
You confused yet?
A lot of different scenarios there.
I guess we just have to wait and see what happens, but we want to
bottom line, win by 6 or more.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about
win the game, and it takes care of business.
Yeah,
right?
We're really not focused on any scenario other than winning by 6. We know for sure that if we win or win by 6, we're in the top 2 spots. The goal is clearly to win by 6 and to lock it all up.
Well, if we win by 6, that pretty much clinches the district championship, right?
Yes.
So when was the last time New Albany actually won a district championship?
We've had them here and there. Yeah.
We've got 3 actually in the history of New Albany now. Before
you talking about since MHSA came along, where there's no Little 10 and all that stuff.
So basically, sometime in the '90s. So There's three. The last one was in 2012. Coach Price won it twice.
That was a real good team that went 13-1 or something like that.
And then the one
year.
after it also won.
2 years after. So in 2010, the 13 win season, that Colin Stubblefield and Taylor Guth, guys that are on our coaching staff, were a
As
part
players,
of.
yeah.
And then 2 years later, they won it again. I think they were 8-5, 9-5, somewhere around in there.
Well, that tells you how
Won
much it
again.
comes full circle, doesn't it? When you've got coaches that actually played on those teams, actually coming back, and then here we are sitting.
Yeah, and on that team, there were also a bunch of players whose dads won the Little 10 as players. So it all goes full circle in New Albany, it
Right,
seems like.
no doubt.
The big thing is, like I said, though, even though it's been 10 years either way. So 2012 was the last time that New Albany has won the division. It's been a little while since we played for the division also, so this is the first opportunity we've had in a while to actually play for the division. So just that opportunity in of itself is exciting for our guys. Again, a lot of different scenarios that can complicate a lot of different things. We're focused on winning by more than 6.
You know, the radio guys have been real entertaining here lately. At one point, David was talking to Keith from the side, or Keith. David was on the sideline, and Keith was talking to him, and he mentioned, that's how they used to do it back in the day. And Keith said, "I don't remember. I was blocking. I wasn't catching any touchdowns." They've been real entertaining throughout the year. So I want to thank the radio guys for what they do on the live stream, but also for WNAU. It's been a really good product. So let's talk about last week's game.
Yeah, we went into South Pontotoc. They are not going to make the playoffs. Them and North are both out. Played North the week before, going into South this past week. Had a really good defensive lineman, a really good young quarterback. So still every week in, week out, you got to go play well. Started off a little slow. Had too many penalties early on and had a turnover inside the red zone. So really just didn't get off to a great start, even though we were up the whole game. Just felt like we needed to get in that end zone and to end up putting more points on the board. But then our defense played well for the majority of the game. And then second half, we got going on the offensive side, eliminated some of the penalties, and continued to move the football.
Yeah, I thought the second half we really came in and really took it up a notch, you can say, and on both sides of the ball. Execution was a lot better, and then kids just played with a lot more intensity second half of the night.
Like I said, we had several points called back based on penalties. When you stopped having that, those plays started producing.
They start
points,
counting, yeah.
Right.
And then the scoreboard started going up. Really excited about the way when the JV guys started going out there. We gave up some points, but we also could continue to score points. So a lot of young guys getting chances to play a lot of minutes Friday night.
How, we've talked injuries. Can you give us an update on your injury situation?
Yeah. So we've still got Ethan Cathy, who's out for the year. Ethan's our starting left tackle for the most part. So we've shuffled the offensive line. We've battered a little bit, but we're kind of on the mend at this point. We've got Caleb Shaw, who's still got a cast. Has got a wrist that was broke. Emmanuel Tucker is a defensive end that's going to be able to play some this week after a knee injury. We've got another defensive lineman, Chance Robinson, who is still out with a knee injury. Drew Hobson's had a couple different things going on. He's back with us. So for the most
real quick,
part,
tell me about Drew. How's he doing? Because I know last year he was fun to watch. I know we were excited, and he was excited to get back. Sometimes when you come back from an injury, those first couple weeks are the hardest because re-injury happens. How's he doing?
Well, Drew's just full speed, So the way he throws his body around, he's a little bit more suspect to some injuries. But you don't want to slow.
You don't want to stop
down.
that. Yeah.
Reckless abandon, right? That's what he flies to the ball with reckless abandon.
Yeah, he does a good job for us.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
as soon as he came back, he was right back to that. He's got the game's got to slow down a little bit for you. He's got to continue to make the right reads and things. So none of us are perfect, but he's doing a really good job for us. We're very fortunate to have some depth there. We've got Stephen Woods also at linebacker. Keener is there at inside linebacker. So 3 guys that are share time at inside linebacker, and then 4 guys that have been playing outside linebacker. So you've got Jarrell Boland, Zane Chapman, Keelan Simpson went blank, and then we've got Parker Skinner, a young guy that's also playing. So we've been playing a lot with 4 guys playing those 2 linebacker spots and 3 guys playing the 2 inside spots. So having some depth and having a lot of players to play those spots have been really important. The defensive line, when Emmanuel got hurt, We had a young man named Isaac Gilbert step up and did a tremendous job. Isaac's a 6'5" frame guy.
I think he can
long.
stretch his arm from one sideline to the other sideline sometimes, you know.
Well, we talk about him, scratching the top of his foot without bending down some. But, he does.
Just the picture of that, how challenging that would be.
He's been doing a really good job for us. Jaden Hicks, Montavio Sullivan. We talked about Stephen Woods playing inside linebacker. He also comes down and will play some defensive line for us, does a good job. Another motor guy that just really gives a lot of effort on that defensive side. And then the secondary's played much better lately. I think we had a couple situations where we were maybe too aggressive, came up early. I think they've done a better job the past couple of weeks of knowing their role, knowing their job, and staying back into coverage when they're supposed to.
One thing I've noticed, I know you've had injuries throughout the year, and it seems like it's kind of put players in different positions, but now that's kind of added depth to your group, and now that you can kind of mix and match and do a lot more with them, can't you?
Yeah, no question. Like I said, I think we're deep in some of those spots. The offensive line, like we talked about, has been shuffled a little bit. Matthew Harris has been battling an ankle injury, but hasn't missed any time due to that. So he's doing a really good job of playing through that injury, and that ankle is getting better. So we're very fortunate to have had all the injuries we've got, but having most of those guys back now at this point.
Yeah, I tell you what, Shaw caught that ball the other night and spun out of it there with that cast on. Didn't like it bothered him at all, hardly.
The problem is he caught it 4 times. I think it hit that cast and bounced up and bounced and bounced, and then he finally corralled it. But Shaw can make things happen as long as he can corral that ball and get in there. He hasn't missed any time at corner. He played corner the very first week with that cast. Through practice and things, he's starting to catch the ball with those fingertips a little bit. So we've used him on offense as well. So, Jarrell Bolin, one of the biggest, I think, boosts for our team has been Jarrell Bolin playing on the offensive side of the ball. Was an emergency situation against Ripley. He practices it some, but made a couple big plays against Ripley, and then has been big ever since through the North Pontotoc game and the South Pontotoc game.
Well, before we move on to this week's opponent, just remind you that this show is brought to you by Gumtree Mortgage, Brady Brock and Jody Walls, and also our site sponsor where we're sitting today was Wally Morgan State Farm. So, Coach, now talk to us a little bit about our opponent this week, Houston. If we've got to beat them by 6 to win the division, what's that going to take?
First off, Houston's a very good team. They're very talented. I think one of their biggest strengths is their defensive front. Number 15, number 52, some big guys that really control a lot of scrimmage in a lot of their game, in a lot of their games. Defensively, they're going to play in a 3-3 stack, so very similar to what South Pontotoc did, except the guys on defensive line are a little bit different animals up there. So, like I said, 15, 52 are really good guys that we're going to have to make sure we do a good job of being able to block and stay on. Number 22 is an outside linebacker. He's also the running back for them. That's just a tremendous athlete. And then they've got a lot of speed in the back end and the secondary. So from our standpoint, we've got to make sure we play really well in all 3 phases of the game. Special teams and a close game is huge, whether it's putting points on the board through field goals and extra points or playing the field position battle with kicking off and doing our punting game. So special teams have got to be really, really big this week.
Is their head coach one of the Dampier brothers?
The head coach is Baylor Dampier. I think this is Baylor's 3rd, 4th year at Houston. Has done a really good job there in his time at Houston. I'm very familiar with him and several other coaches. Reed Flowers is a guy that's there on staff. Kyle Bonds is there on staff. Dallas, a guy from Pontotoc. Caden Dallas is one of their coaches. So very, very, very familiar with those guys that are there, but they do a tremendous job.
How does is he running their offense or their defense? His dad was an offensive guy.
I know Kyle Bond is heavily involved in the offense, but I'm pretty sure Baylor's still doing a lot of the offense.
How does it differ? Do you remember back in the day how his dad's offense he would run a lot of too tight, and ran a hook and ladder play that was always real effective, and he would run it at just the right time. Real good at running the ball out of a too tight set with one back. What does it look like for them?
I think Baylor is really known for, and his dad as well, as being multiple up front, using a lot of different formations. He still does that. They're going to try, first and foremost, they're going to try to find a way to run the football. So you're going to see tight ends, wings in the game, multiple H-backs trying to run power and some of those things and stretch. So he does a good job in that regard. And to go along with the coaching side of that is He's got multiple guys up there that are over 300 pounds that really move well. Their offensive line, number 74 and 52, you'll see 74 move from side to side depending on whether they're pulling or not, or running power or ISO.
Really?
So it's key. There's a key there to that, right? When you see those guys moving. But the other part to that is you got to go stop that and blow it up. So Coach Hammond, our defensive staff, Coach Ward did a good job all week talking to our defensive linemen about, it's not a team that we want to, we every week in, week out, we talk about slanting. They've got the size, they've got some of that strength. We've got to use our quickness there. We've got to get across their face and present problems by using our speed.
It's funny. Houston has got a long tradition. Got a couple guys in the NFL, played on D lineman. They've always had a good defense. Always had those big athletes down there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's a typical Houston team that you've got there. They're going to have a lot of size and a lot of speed in the back end. They've got a quarterback that is not as mobile as they've had in years past, but does a good job running the offense and can throw the ball. When they drop back and throw the ball, they're going to throw it to number 2 for the most part. Is a very good receiver. But I can't stress enough, they're going to start by trying to run the football. And I think defensively, from our perspective, we've been better against the run than we have anything else all year.
Well, no, I was told, I think they had an injury to a running back early, but I've heard this backup running back's pretty salty also, right?
Yeah, just a really good, talented young man. Runs the ball hard. He's a senior.
What number is he?
He's 22.
22.
22. So they just do a good job, so kind of circling back around for us to win the football game, we've got to be extremely solid on special teams. Defensively, we've got to be able to hang in there and stop the run when we need to. Offensively, we want to spread them out a little bit more. We certainly want to be able to run the football when we call those plays, but we're going to try to spread them out. Let Braden, read the defense, make passes. We want to continue to have a high percentage. I think he was 77% against North Pontotoc when we were throwing the ball. A repeat performance of that would bode well. And so receivers got to catch the ball. Braden's got to throw it. We've got to make plays. So we talk all the time about those receivers just doing special stuff and making that special play. So I know they're capable of it. We got to just go out there and do it. I think our offensive line has played well for the most part all year, and so we did another good performance out of them.
How did the Houston Ripley game turn out?
28-21. Ripley beat them. I'm sorry, Houston won.
So that's where the tie comes. Is
right.
Ripley beat us?
And I think Ripley actually had the lead till about a minute and a half so to go, and I think they came back and beat them.
I think they were up, and then they had a chance to score late to try to tie it up and didn't do it. I know the opening kickoff, Houston number 22, the running back, the linebacker that we talked about, took the opening kickoff back to the house and scored. So I know they were up early based off that. Again, 2 teams that are really good. I think we're all pretty evenly matched as far as us, Ripley and Houston. I think we can do some things that give them trouble, where Ripley is more of a run-heavy team. That kind of played into the strength of Houston. I think by spreading them out, we can utilize some of that spacing, and they're going to play a lot of man coverage. So if we can create separation, if we can do some rub routes, we can do some things to get some guys open, those things can turn into big plays.
Yeah. So what else don't we know? Give us one more insight into the game or even into the week. We talked about injuries. We talked about Houston. We talked about your preparation. What's one thing? I mean, the game's on Thursday. It's not on Friday this week. So if you're wanting to see it, it's at home, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday night. We've got senior night coming up. It's our last regular season home game. So anytime that happens, we're going to recognize our seniors, and it's not just football. That's football, band, cheer, ROTC, and cross country. All those programs are going to be recognized, and that starts at 6:30. So 6:30 senior night, 7 o'clock's kickoff. A chance to win the division, but the big thing is, these guys have worked hard. We've not all year. We've seen them play hard. They never laid down. They never quit all year.
No doubt.
And with that, they put themselves in a position to play for the division. So we want to reap that reward. We want to enjoy the moment, but we want to go out there and play a full game for 4 quarters, limit mistakes, and just play the way we're capable. And I think at the end of that, we're going to be right there with them.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, 7-2 at the beginning of the season. I mean, clearly you want to win every game, but to walk into a season and be 7-2 with a chance to win the division, playing at home for that chance to win the division, it's an exciting season.
Well, like you said, I think the big thing is every year, if you can end the year with the chance of winning the division, you'll sign up for that every year. So
Absolutely.
our guys have done that. So we're excited about that. We want to finish this we call it the second portion of the season. You got 9 division, then playoffs. So we want to finish this one. We've got a chance to win the division. We certainly want to do that, and then turn our sights on that week 1 in the playoffs and kind of make a run and see what we can do in the postseason.
So tell me about the playoffs, because I know that'll be the next question. Obviously, if we're first or second in the division, it's a different scenario than if we're third or fourth. Does first and second play at home and third and fourth play away? Is that how that works?
So there's 4 teams out of each region that make the playoffs. 1 and 2 do host a home playoff game. 3 and 4 would be on the road. This year we match up. We're Region 2. We match up with Region 1. So that's Itawamba, Shannon, Corinth, Caledonia, some of those teams.
So Itawamba's going to come out number 1 in that, right?
Yeah, they've already clinched that. So we know Itawamba's 1. Pretty sure Shannon's 2, Corinth's 3, and I believe most likely Caledonia will be 4th. I'm sorry.
Well, we for sure don't want to be 4th and have to play Itawamba again.
Well,
then.
if we
Not at least in the first week of the playoffs.
Right. Well, I mean, they're certainly one of the better teams in 4A. If we don't spot them 21, we're right there with them.
Absolutely,
in week 2. But yeah,
I feel like we've gotten better too.
First round.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we finish second, we're most likely playing Corinth again. We've already beat them at Corinth, and then if we finish, if we finish second, it's be Corinth. Third, it would be Shannon. So,
That's right.
But team, right there, those are all games that we think we can win. So regardless of where we go, you start looking at week 1, well, you got a chance there. What does week 2 look like? But you still got to take it 1 week at a time.
And do they still swap? Like if you play away the first week, do you play at home the second week no matter what?
Yeah, well, so first off, it goes by seed. Second round, it goes by if you haven't hosted, you get to host. If you both hosted, then it goes back to the seeding.
So if we're a 3 seed and we play somebody, Shannon away, for example,
we would most likely would
host the next week.
Round.
Okay, all right.
Well, I can tell you this is a very exciting time in New Albany football right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, we're really excited about the opportunity to play for the division. A good team's going to come in town. Like I said, they're well coached. They're going to be good on both sides of the football. We've got to find a way to stop the run. We've got to play well on special teams, and then we've got to be a high percentage on offense and throwing the ball around.
Well, we know that last week we couldn't live stream the game. Anytime you go to an opponent's stadium, they dictate whether or not you can stream or not, and they have a situation set up where they're streaming, and so it didn't work out. But what about this week?
Well, this week we're back here. We'll have our guys being able to stream. I know Mr. Russell's under the weather, so not sure about all the things there. But if absolutely possible, we're able to stream, we're going to. I know those kids want to do it. I know our men at the WNAU radio want to do it. And so we certainly are hoping we're going to have the stream tomorrow night.
Well, good. Well, good luck, Coach. Hope it works out. Good luck to the players. Really excited and hope that we can sit here next week preparing for a playoff game as the division champion.
No doubt.
That'd be great for sure.
Well, again, this show is brought to you by Gumtree Mortgage, Brady Brock and Jody Walls, and also our site sponsor, State Farm Insurance. We really appreciate you watching. Hope to see you next week.
Go Bulldogs.
Wally Morgan State Farm is proud to host Coach Cody Stubblefield's New Albany Bulldog pregame show.
At Wally Morgan State Farm, family is important to us. We think of ourselves as a family and our community as a family, and nothing is more important than nurturing the youth in our community. We are super proud of Coach Stubblefield and all the work he's done for Bulldog football, and we are super excited to support him and the entire team and see what they do this season. Go Dogs!